Good Shabbat again, everyone. So 19-year-old Michaela from California seemed to have it all. She was brilliant and worldly, and at just 19, she was already giving sophisticated interviews to elite magazines. She had built a successful modeling career, partied at LA's hottest clubs, attended trendy art gallery openings in New York, all while dressed in the latest designer fashion, and always posting her never-ending, once-in-a-lifetime adventures on social media with cleverly crafted captions. She had more than 1 million followers following her social media, most of them between the ages of 14 and 35. Followers from across the country and even the world who were exposed to her perfect life every single day. But she seemed almost too perfect, too good to be true. And that's why she eventually wrote in an Instagram post, "I'm actually not a human being. I'm a CGI, a computer-generated image, created by a startup specializing in artificial intelligence, designed to help global brands promote their products." What's even crazier, when her creators revealed that she wasn't even real, the number of her young followers increased. And today, there are millions of these computer-generated images on social media, living their fake, perfect lives, as if life wasn't already hard enough for young people today. Because every day, your children, my young adult children, our grandchildren, all youth who have phones, they scroll through images of friends, classmates, and computer-generated models who seem to have it all creating immense pressure on our teens and our young adults. We may not always see it. We may not even realize it, but it's there. From middle school to college to young adults in their 20s and 30s. Of course, anxious young people existed before social media, but now they scroll through endless filtered versions of their peers' lives. And many think to themselves, why don't people want to see me? Why don't I look as good? Why does everyone else seem to be having more fun? And all these pressures, so many more, can be overwhelming. As a rabbi, I often see the stress our young people are under. And I'm concerned. I'm deeply concerned. The results are alarming. In unprecedented numbers, young adults reported life satisfaction has plummeted, while rates of depression have soared. In an age when technology could bring us closer together, at the very moment our young need real-life connection, there seems to be more loneliness and more disconnect than ever before. Too many of our precious young today are lost. They feel alone. So some turn to drugs and alcohol, and some turn to giving up completely on the blessings of life. Too often they hurt others in the process. You and I live in a time when so many young people are depressed and lonely, and unfortunately, some even take out their anger on the innocent. Just last Shabbat, Rabbi Fort delivered an outstanding sermon about the recent school shooting in Minnesota. If you didn't hear it, I urge you to go online and listen. And like Rabbi Fort and all my colleagues, I'm deeply troubled by the crisis of purpose amongst young people in America today. So many young people have lost sight of anything worth living for. They feel their world is spinning out of control, trapped in endless anxiety and despair, only increased by their social media feeds. And that was the state of the shooter in Minnesota. Consumed with anger, stripped of purpose, he found a home on the internet, but of the worst kind. A sadistic online cult preyed on his emptiness and actually encouraged him to unleash his rage on the innocent children at that Catholic school in Minnesota. Tragically, there are countless other online groups eager to do the same, waiting to capture the lost souls adrift in our society. It's frightening, scary. Can our Jewish tradition offer some help, some wisdom for you and me? This week in the Torah, we read, quote, "If you see your fellow's ox or sheep gone astray, don't ignore it. You actually have to return it to your fellow. It's the same with a person's garment. Anything someone else loses, you see it, you can't remain indifferent." And from these verses, the rabbis built an entire chapter of our rabbinic tradition on what's called Hashevat Avedah, returning that which is lost. The Torah insists we must return any lost object. We can't sit idly by when we see something that's lost. A wallet, clothes, anything that we see, and we have to do what we can to return it to the owner. And then the 18th century Moroccan rabbi known as the Or Chaim noted that the root of Hashevat Avedah, returning what is lost, is the same as teshuvah, which means return or repentance. In other words, this rabbi says that these verses are not only about objects, but also about souls, people who are lost and seeking meaning. So our tradition often teaches from this idea that you and I cannot remain indifferent when we encounter a lost soul. If we see someone who's lost and we see a path that they do not just becomes the nice thing to do, it becomes our obligation to help them find their way. Actively looking out for others, especially our young, and reminding them of where they can belong, what they can achieve, and how they can fit into the greater picture. Too many go a lifetime never truly finding themselves, searching for purpose, hoping to feel anchored instead of adrift. Helping someone lost find their way is a gift, an obligation, especially when they're young. Because at the heart of the Jewish tradition is the belief that each and every one of us has this beautiful, unique mission that only we can fulfill. And the great adventure of life is discovering that answer, our own unique answer. As the Mishnah teaches, there is no one who doesn't have their hour, no one who doesn't have their rightful place. A 25-year study by the National Institute of Mental Health asked, what makes people most satisfied with their lives? The study found something very interesting, that the happiest people were those who lived up to their own unique and distinctive possibilities. Because happiness is not about wealth, it's not about fame, it's not about popularity, it's not about having the most followers on our social media. It's happiness is appreciating what only you can do. Many of us who've lived through those difficult young adult years now know the best way to find satisfaction is to discover our own unique purpose on this earth. We know the older we get, hopefully the wiser we get, and we realize that each of us can bring perspective, insight, and talent like no one else can. Each of us can find something irreplaceable to add to this world. I'm reminded of the story of the man who fell into a deep hole and couldn't get out. A doctor passes by, he writes a prescription, he tosses it down. A rabbi passes by, he writes a prayer, he tosses it down. But finally, a friend passes by, sees the man stuck, and the friend jumps into the hole. The man says, "Are you crazy? Now we're both down here." The friend grabs hold of his friend's hand and says, "Yeah, but I've been down here before, and I know the way out." We adults who have been through those difficult years of middle school and beyond, we know how easy it is to feel lost. And it's even more easy today. But with skill, with patience, and with care, can we be there to guide our young towards meaning so they can find purpose in life? Yes, they'll go through difficult times. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's never easy. But the more wisdom we can offer, the guidance we can give them, the more likely the chances that they will find the purpose we all want them to find, that they won't be lost adrift, that they'll have meaning and therefore happiness. Because each of us, whether we're blessed to be parents or grandparents, no matter who we are, we want our children to be happy. And to do so, the best way to make them happy is that they have meaning and purpose. Helping them find their way, of course, is not a solitary task. Together with teachers, counselors, rabbis, and each other, can we draw on the wisdom of our Jewish tradition to help our precious children? Shabbat Shalom.